Hey everyone, Cam here helping you to make good videos, and today I'm going to show you what I think is the best overall lens for Sony APS-C cameras. Now, just to be clear, there is no one perfect lens that's going to meet all of your needs. But if I had to choose only one to make good videos, I would go with this Tamron 17 to 70mm f2.8 lens. And as I explained to you why, I'm going to compare it with the Sigma 18 to 50mm f2.8 lens, which is also a good choice, to show you why I think this is the best all-around lens for video if you're only choosing one. And I have Amazon and B&H links to both of these lenses in the description, so if you decide to purchase one, it won't cost you anything extra, but it will greatly help out the channel. So when it comes to lenses, there are three main things to consider when making your choice, and those are the focal length, the aperture, and the autofocus capability. Starting with the focal length, the lower the number, the wider the field of view, and the higher the number, the more narrow the field of view. And I like to have a variety of focal lengths when making my films, so a zoom lens is the most convenient. And my most used focal lengths are 24, 35, and 50mm, which are actually the only three I use when shooting my last short film, Bedtime, that I'll have linked in the description so you can check out how using those various focal lengths contributed to the overall look of the film. So let me know down in the comments what types of videos you plan on making, because that could possibly change my suggestion for you. But with this 17 to 70mm lens, you get all of those focal lengths and then some combined into one lens, because on a Sony APS-C camera, you have a 1.5 times crop on your lens. And basically what this means is that your 17 to 70mm lens has an equivalent focal length of 26 to 105mm, and the Sigma 18 to 50mm has an equivalent of 27 to 75mm. And if you don't know what I mean by equivalent focal length, I have another video here on camera crop factor, also linked below, that'll explain it further for you. But the 26mm is wide enough for you to be able to use for vlogging, but do keep in mind that if you use the active stabilization mode, it will crop in slightly, but you should be just fine when vlogging with something like a GorillaPod. And just to be clear, prime lenses will be more sharp and color accurate than a zoom lens in most cases, but they're also very expensive, and you have the inconvenience of carrying around multiple lenses all the time. Getting the Sigma 16, 30, and 56mm f1.4 lenses will cost you $1,042, whereas this Tamron 17 to 70mm is only $800, and the Sigma 18 to 50mm is only $550. So there's a trade-off for ease of use for the maximum aperture of the lens. Both lenses let you get down to f2.8, which is really good and will give you a nice shallow depth of field. However, the 17 to 70mm will only go up to an aperture of f16, whereas the Sigma goes all the way to f22. That'll help you block out an extra stop of light for outdoor shooting, but in all reality, I never go higher than f11, and you'll probably be using an ND filter anyways for most outdoor shooting applications. And if you don't know what I mean by stops of light, I have another video that'll help you understand how exposure works, linked in the description as well. An important thing to keep in mind is that both of these lenses give you a constant maximum aperture, which means that you'll be able to stay at that f2.8 throughout the entire zoom range of the lenses, unlike cheaper kit lenses like the Sony 16 to 50mm that starts out at f3.5 at 16mm and automatically increases to f5.6 as you zoom in towards 50mm, which is very limiting on your creativity. The lower the maximum aperture of the lens, the shallower you can make the depth of field, which gives you a lot more control over the style of your shots throughout the entire zoom range of the lens. Another reason why this lower constant maximum aperture is important is because of low light capabilities. When I'm shooting on a full frame camera like right now, the sensor is much larger and has a lot bigger pixels on it that can get in more light and can give me a clean image even at higher ISO settings. And when shooting at f2.8 on an APS-C camera like the ZV-E10, I still need to have the ISO at 3200, which is higher than I like for a smaller sensor in a low light setting, but the image actually still turned out really well. But when using a cheap kit lens like I mentioned before, the ISO would have to be pushed up to 12,800 to get the same exposure with the increased aperture of f5.6, which introduces a lot more noise into the shot than you'll probably want to have. So having the option of getting all the way down to at least f2.8 is a definite must for me in choosing a lens for filmmaking. The last thing to make sure is that the lens has great autofocus capabilities, because when starting out, chances are you're going to be shooting everything yourself or even shooting videos of yourself, so good autofocus is a must. One of my favorite ways to test a lens's autofocus is to do a dolly zoom test, because if the camera can stay locked onto someone's face while moving and zooming, then you know it's a good lens. So you can see here, when paired with the ZV-E10, the Tamron lens works great during a dolly zoom. However, when I switched to the Sigma lens, it just could not keep up at all with the movement. And something to keep in mind here is that the lens's autofocus capabilities are only going to be as good as the camera's autofocus system. So just to be sure, I tried the same test again with my a7 III in APS-C mode, and I got pretty much the same result with the Tamron working fine, but when switching to the Sigma, the lens just couldn't keep up with the demands of the movement. And pretty much every Sony model of camera that I've used over the past few years has had great autofocus systems, so unless you're using an older camera like the A7S II here that only has the contrast detection autofocus, then you should be fine. And to show you a couple other quick autofocus examples, the touch autofocus works great with both of the lenses for racking focus easily and smoothly. And neither lens had any problem staying locked onto me when walking around or adjusting focus when moving quickly in and out of the frame. You can also see that the camera was able to detect my face and even my eyes just fine when moving into the dark areas of the frame. The last point here is that both of these lenses are APS-C format, meaning that they are designed to be used on an APS-C camera. So if you were to upgrade to a full frame camera and then put one of these lenses on it, you'll end up with some serious vignetting to where it looks like you're looking through a tube. But most Sony full frame cameras have a cool option where you can enable an APS-C mode so that you can still use your APS-C lenses. So it's perfectly fine to use this lens with the full frame upgrade camera until you can save up enough money to get an upgraded lens that will help improve your shots even more. But if you do want to get a lens now that you'll be able to use on the full frame of an upgrade camera in the future, then the Sony 16 to 35mm f2.8 G Master lens would be a good choice. However, you'll be spending $2,200 for that and missing out on the longer reach of the Tamron and Sigma lenses. So even though both of these lenses gave pretty much the same quality in all the tests, I'd have to go with the Tamron 17 to 70mm because of the Dolly zoom test, plus the fact that you can get all the way to 70mm as opposed to only 50mm on the Sigma. But if you don't think you'll be needing the better autofocus capability for those more unique types of video moves like the Dolly zoom or the extra reach, then the Sigma is still a great choice that will definitely save you some money too. And one last thing to bear in mind is that I did find one review online of someone complaining about dust getting inside of the lens on the Tamron. He said he does a lot of shooting in dusty environments, which isn't something I encounter where I live, so I didn't notice any problems, but if you're going to be somewhere that's dusty or maybe a beach or something like that, it could be a possible issue for you depending on your environment. But if you have any questions about any of the lenses I talked about today, feel free to post them down in the comments and I'll try to answer anything I can and help you out there. But if this video was helpful, then please hit that like button and subscribe for more videos in the future, and check out some of my playlists because I have a lot of videos showing you creative techniques on how to use your new lens to make your videos look even better. And with that, I'll see you soon.